I was wondering on the front of a potential wireless link solution, if you think there'd be value in making some kind of external like accessory that plugs into your PC and could talk directly to the Oculus Quest.
So yeah, the way the internal politics and drama on a lot of this have gone is that we absolutely could make a specialized dongle that uses like, frequency bands that aren't very used. There's good firmware stuff that we can do to improve things. And hardware people want to make hardware. So, depending on where a program gets driven from, if it comes from hardware people, they're going to design a solution that has you plugging in custom hardware. But from the software side, many of us were like, look, it works. We have an existence proof. People are doing this on regular Wi-Fi. And then it becomes a question of quality bars where people will say, yes, but when I tried it, it was terrible. It was a garbage experience. This will poison the well. People will be sick of this and they'll never want to buy, something from this later, even if we make a better one. And I've never really bought that argument because there's always this spectrum where, the streaming solutions. And like I did this where we have a demo of running stuff to cloud computers, and I started in one room of my house that was kind of at the limit of Wi-Fi. I put it on and started to say, well, this is terrible. This is not good. It's juddery all over. I'm going to get sick. But then I walked down the hall to my office where my router is, and now it's like, oh, this is surprisingly good. And then also like one of my little gripes about in that exact thing, I tried to get up and literally walk down the hall to my office. But of course, you walk outside your Guardian, it shows pass-through. I'm like, okay, great. I'm walking down the hall. But then after a little while, it goes all the way to black where you're like, oh, go back to your place or whatever. I really want that fixed because that was a totally legitimate thing that I was doing there, walking from one known Guardian area to another one in my office. But yeah, there is very... Hardware projects inside Oculus are big deals and expensive. There are lots of scrappy little companies in China and stuff that can whip things together in a lot faster and more cost effectively than we can. We have to do our headsets. That's just, we've tried working. We've been disappointed. Every time we've worked with another company, we felt that we need to take ownership of it to kind of get all that done, but the way we want it to our standards. But there's certainly the possibility of something like a Wi-Fi dongle that we could take somebody else's Wi-Fi dongle, and there are legitimately valuable things we can do in the firmware. There are things within the Wi-Fi spec. There's long you'll wait for retries, how often you'll broadcast or check for different things. And these make real differences. And there was some really good work that was done internally to kind of check what can we do on the headset that affects everything, and then what can we do on the other side. And there's valuable things that we can do in both cases. So my ideal case is we offer the whole spectrum where you have link for top quality, where you run the wire up to your headset, and we have lots of headroom for making that better than it is now. Take full advantage of this awesome USB 3 high spec cable that we made. So we can make that much better. Then you could offer Wi-Fi to a dedicated dongle where you plug it in, and this is, it makes the pairing perfect. We do cool stuff to make it just a magical experience where your PC just always shows up there, and it does the best possible job for wireless. And if you're in the same room, it's going to be great. But then we should still support just Wi-Fi through your normal access port. There's going to be more problems. I mean, if the rest of your house is all streaming movies and playing games, you're going to have more trouble, which is going to bother you more in VR than it will for video. Netflix can buffer 15 minutes ahead in a stream, while VR, we're like, well, we'd really like it to be 50 milliseconds or less total end-to-end latency. But still, lots of people will say, it's the middle of the night, nobody's on the Wi-Fi spectrum, this works just fine. Or they can say, well, I really need to get this done in this situation, and I can tolerate some disruption from it. And then even after that, if somebody says, well, hey, I don't have a gaming PC, but my friend does. He opened a tunnel in his router and gave me his IP address. You should be able to go ahead and connect to somebody else's PC or a cloud service. But they're probably most of the time for most people, it won't be a spectacular experience. But even if 10% of the people, there are niches in the VR market. People buy foot trackers and stuff right now, which is just a tiny, tiny fragment of the market. And if only a tiny, tiny fragment gets value out of even a cloud solution, I'm all for it. You know, it's like I don't care if I think it's valuable as long as one of our customers think it's valuable, and they show us their preferences are revealed by their actions. People are doing these things, and so they must find it valuable, and we shouldn't say it's of no value. So